Hi, welcome to Unscripted on NK Reviews. This is Tyler from NK Reviews, and I almost said Unscripted. But anyway, the reason why there wasn't a funny introduction at the beginning was the fact that I'm just by myself this time reviewing Independence Day Resurgence. Independence Day Resurgence is a sequel to Independence Day that was made about 20 years ago. The reason why it took so long to make this one was the fact that they were going to make it a while back, but Will Smith demanded like 50 million for maybe it was for both movies or for each one. So that's why they stayed on this project for a while, and now they're like, we're gonna do it with or without Will Smith, and it looks like they're doing it without him. So Independence Day Resurgence takes place roughly 20 years after the last one. Humanity and mankind has readapted and kind of backwards engineered the technology from the aliens, and apparently the aliens are counterattacking with their queen, and now it's up to humanity to try to fight back with more of a fighting edge this time around, but also the mothership is a lot bigger. Now, going into this movie, I was kind of aware of the not so good reviews. I tried to avoid them as much as possible, and to be honest, I actually was pleasantly surprised by how entertained this movie was. Now, this movie is definitely not supposed to be, oh, this is highbrow entertainment and so full of great directing and story and, whatnot. I mean, if you're expecting something on the quality of like a Martin Scorsese movie, then you're going to be vastly disappointed. And movies like this, it's kind of like a Transformers movie. You go in to have a good time and watch it and have fun. You don't expect it to be like one of the best movies of the year. You're going into by saying, okay, this is fun. I enjoyed it for what it was worth. Now, I think the part I'm going to talk about the most about this movie is just the characters alone. To organize this, I'm going to split up into three parts. First, we have the characters that are returning, who are also the same actors from the last movie. Second is that we have actors who are replacing other actors that were in the last movie. And then finally, we have a barrage of just new characters. I feel like the real invasion of this movie is just new characters that just kept reigning and reigning throughout. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit repetitive, but at the same time, I was kind of willing to forgive all the new characters being brought in, mainly because of the fact that they got really good character development, and that's nice. I'm willing to kind of let that slide if there's just way too many characters in a movie if they're given, good background and maybe reasons why to care about them in a way. So anyway, the first is I'm gonna talk about the characters are returning from the last one who are the same actors from the last one. We have, Jeff Goldblum returning as David. He was, again, Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum. That's what he pretty much does best. And yeah, it was nice to see him being all awkward and that. I'm hoping that he'll come back in the next Jurassic Park movie whenever that happens. I also really like the fact that Bill Pullman was back as the President of the United States. I mean, he's not the president anymore, but personally, people are just going to mainly know him as just the president from the Independence Day movie franchise. It was awesome to see him in this movie. He had that beard on. He was really rocking it, especially if it was like whitish gray and that. He definitely does has a presence every time he's on screen. Even if it's just minor dialogue or anything like that, it's just that you're always listening to everything he's saying and you're like, this guy's awesome because he gave one of the best movie speeches of all time. And then we also have some other characters in this that I wasn't really expecting to return. For example, we have Jude Hirsch, or I'm not 100% how you pronounce his last name, as the father of Jeff Goldblum's character. He was kind of minorly unnecessary, but kind of fan service from the first one. And then we also have Brent Spinner, I think that's how you pronounce his name, as the doctor from the first one. That I was surprised to see him in this, and I was saying to myself, didn't he die in the first one? Well, apparently he was in a coma. Yeah, coma for 20 years. I thought maybe they would pull the plug on him, maybe after 10 years. But anyway, maybe to try to get him back in. I know some people may feel disappointed, like, they got this guy back, but they couldn't get Will Smith back. I mean, there's even a portrait of him in one scene where it's like, hey, yeah, I could have been in this movie, but I'd rather be in Suicide Squad. So, take care. Yeah, That was a really bad Will Smith impression. Sorry about that. So now is my second part of the cast, the actors who are new replacing other actors. We have Micah Monroe as the president's daughter, who the actress who played the daughter in the first Independence Day movie is still acting in that. She's actually in her late 20s now, and this one is in her early 20s. I think the reason why they had her in this instead of the other one was the fact that she's more of a newer and upcoming actress in a way, and she was really good in this one. In fact, I actually met her in person a while back when she was filming at Any Price. Now, the thing was that she was a very new actress at the time. It's nice to know that she's gone, other projects, especially more, pretty good ones like this one. Also, the horror movie It Follows, which is probably one of the best scary movies of this decade alone. And then we also have Jesse T. Usher as Dylan Hiller, who's pretty much the son of Will Smith's character from the last movie. Again, replacing, I forget the actor's name. I don't remember every single person. But anyway, when I saw his name, is that like Usher's kid? And it's not, I guess. That's probably some acting stage name. And honestly, I felt like he was okay. I mean, he did his part. I mean, he wasn't like he exceeded my expectations or he he really dropped the ball. He was just okay. And then finally, the longest part is pretty much the new cast in this movie. I mean, there are just so much new people to talk about, so I'm going to try to skim through them as much as possible. We have Cilla Ward, I think that's how you pronounce her first name, as the President of the United States. I mean, she's not really as big or as important as Bill Pullman was when he was a President of the United States in the first one. She's just like, oh, I'm the president, and I'm a female president, and, that sort of thing. And then we also have William Fichtner as a general in this one, and he is, again, the general character that we've kind of, got to know in other movies, that kind of character. But yeah, he was really good in this one. I really like every time he's in various movies. He pops up, randomly, but it's nice to see this actor show up from time to time. And he's, pretty good. I do enjoy his work and, how he just pops up from here to there. The pilots in this movie, of course, there's, Liam Hemsworth as one of the pilots. Of course, she's also seeing the former president's daughter. They're engaged or whatever. I mean, there's a part in the trailer where he's just staring out the window thinking to himself, do I really want to marry Miley Cyrus? But also, I felt like he was pretty good. He was more of his own character. I mean, he wasn't like his role in the Hunger Games movies where he's just seen as being a piece in a really cliche love triangle and other crap like that. And then the other one is this Chinese actress named Angela Baby as one of the... Yeah, that's her name. Angela Baby, just one word. I found like that was kind of weird. And I think the main reason why she was in this movie was kind of to appeal to the, Chinese, market and Hollywood, other movie studios out there to, gain more box office money and that sort of thing. She was good, but again, she was kind of minor. Of course, Liam Hemsworth had a much bigger part and was more like the leader of the group. Another extra in this movie that was also pretty good was Deba Oprah. I really butchered that up. I probably did that. Sorry. He was really good in this one as pretty much a leader of some kind of resistance group in Africa who's known to fight other aliens, especially from 20 years ago, what they established. He was a pretty good fighter. He was pretty cool. He was, that tall, masculine guy who pretty much, just slaughters aliens. And yeah, he's cool. I mean, he's the kind of guy you want to be fighting with and not against. And then finally, I know it's like a minor one, but one actress that kind of stood out was Joey King as one of the random kids that gets introduced halfway through. And the reason why I bring her up is the fact that I've noticed that she's been popping up in a lot of other movies, especially in recent years. I mean, she was in that Oz the Great and Powerful movies, that China Doll Girl. She was in White House Down as Channing Tatum's character's daughter. But the one role I know her best from is being young Talia al Ghul in Dark Knight Rises, where she was the kid that climbed out the pit. And when she was on screen, when I finally realized that, in my mind, I was going like, dishy, dishy, pasha, pasha, dishy, dishy, pasha, pasha. But again, I mean, there are kind of way too many characters in this movie, but at the same time, they do get a bit of backstory, kind of in a way we should probably care about them and so on. The other thing I would say about this movie are the effects. Now, the effects are pretty good. There's a lot of scenes where we see the aliens a lot more, and they're CGI, but they're definitely very realistic. But on the other hand, there are scenes where there's just like a bunch of stuff flying out of the screen, and it kind of looks kind of so. But the effects in general were pretty good, especially when all the destruction from around the world is happening when the mothership is landing, and a bunch of destruction is going on. And then Jeff Goldblum's character has one liner like, "They love to get the landmarks," or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, actually, the director likes to destroy the landmarks in this one. Now, the problems with this movie is the fact that it is kind of, in a way, like Jurassic World, where it does repeat some maybe scenes or various tropes from the last one in a way, because they want to get into that nostalgic factor, but at the same time, they want to make their own movie, which they did a good job with. But there are scenes in this movie where, I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but there's a part where it's like this character is killed by these aliens, and I think to myself, okay, why do these other characters don't have better weapons to fight these other aliens coming in? And it's just for this person to get axed off so this other person can become more important later on. Now, of course, yeah, it is a nostalgic trip in a way. And I know that a lot of people nowadays will not really care much about this movie because of the fact that they're thinking about, oh, it's just one-liners and cheesy stuff. But that's pretty much Roland Emmerich movies in general. I mean, if you look at his filmography on like Metacritic or something like that, his movies are not very well liked from critics. I think the only movie that critics legitimately liked that he made was The Patriot, and that was a pretty good movie. So overall, with Independence Day Resurgence, I did have a good time. I enjoyed it. I sat down, watched it, and yeah, it was thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end. I mean, yeah, there were some moments where I felt like maybe there were too many characters, maybe there was kind of too many effects, and maybe there was some kind of ridiculous stuff that happened in the movie. But I was fine with it. I mean, again, it's one of those movies you sit down during summertime, enjoy it, and have a good time, and you don't really think that, oh, it's a classic. It's one of the best movies I've seen all year, or just in your life, or so on. So Independence Day Resurgence, like Batman vs Superman and kinda Gods of Egypt, it's a movie that's definitely not as bad as other people said it is or claim to be. But overall, Independence Day, I did enjoy. And if the movie, that's what I was expecting the movie to be. And it succeeded in that. So overall, I give Independence Day Resurgence about 3 stars out of 4. I know I've given that rating a lot lately, but I've seen a lot of just good movies. Nothing, oh, this is amazing, or, oh, this was not very good at all. Just generally good. And no, not to overuse the word good or using the pun, but I'll just say that's nice. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode Unscripted on Anchor Reviews. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to do more in the future. Dishy dishy basha basha dishy dishy basha basha.